Hey everybody, welcome back to the studio, and today I'm going to bring you that mega battle you've been hearing about. Yes, Battlegroup Overlord Beyond the Beaches mega battle. Now we had planned 3v3, 650 points per player. Yeah, that big of a battle. We're talking a lot of points. It was carnage. It was a surprising outcome. Americans, 2 British against Germans. Now, one of our players was unable to make it. He had his Johnson & Johnson vaccine and got sick. Enough said, enough said. So I took over 2 units. I had a backup list whenever I plan a game here in the studio and in the gaming hall. I always have backup lists. I had a backup American list and a backup German list, 650 points, just in case someone couldn't make it. So I pulled out my backup German list, which was my Panzer IV backup list with Panzer Grenadiers in half tracks. Yes, yes. And we had a new player here in the gaming hall named Pat. Welcome, Pat. Turned out to be he's a new player to Battlegroup, but I tell you, he knows the rules better than me. He really scoured that rule book, and that's very impressive to me. I'm a guy who's getting back into learning rules, and a lot of the game between Paul, Philip, and Pat, hey, the 3 Ps. I could just sit back if there was a question in the rules, especially when we were dealing with artillery, allied artillery. Those guys sorted it out pretty quick, and yeah, so that's great to have. Now, Pat brought his German Panzer IV list, mostly Panzer IVs. He didn't really have I don't think he had any troops. So yeah, I think he had some Stugs. We'll see here on the clip. It's been a little over a week since we played. So I've got the battle excerpts, but a couple things I wanted to point out. With group games, especially on a big 12-foot board like this, is that the camaraderie, the getting together to play. I really feel poorly for you guys who've been on lockdowns. You see, I was airbrushing today. And you can't get together with your friends and play games. Awful, awful, awful. I think the cure is going to be worse than the disease in these areas. Just a thought. Anyway, wow, coming together. We had great food. My wife made us make your own subs. We had spinach and artichoke dip. If you never had it, try it. It's super good. Other goodies, veggie tray with homemade ranch dip. So yeah, it's always a nice smorgasbord, and it's great. Once we are set up and getting close to deployment, or we had deployed actually, we took our break. We ate. We shared stories. We talked about gaming. We talked about life. We talked about the rules, and I tell you, that is the other aspect of gaming, guys, is this isn't video gaming. Yeah, you can talk on your little headphone, but it's just not the same, guys, when you're face to face and you're all sitting around breaking bread together. Such a special thing is part of this gaming that we all love. Now, as we went forward and we started playing the game, another thing has been really striking me with all of these games we've played the last many months, and that is this. I am learning a lot about gaming and list building from other players. I gotta say, I was again with 4 other players that are superior players than me, and I'm getting up there. Okay, I'm learning. I'm taking this all in. These guys are been gaming a lot longer than me, I would say, as far as wargaming. We had Joe. He brought mostly a American infantry list up against Pat. And let me tell you what, Joe and Pat, they went toe to toe, as you'll see here in the excerpts. Paul, well, Joe and Paul were longtime Flames of War tournament leaders. These guys, putting up 36 boards at tournaments, right? So they're really good at getting down to the nitty-gritty of the rules and list building. And that is becoming quickly apparent to me. I also discovered this in the Hail Caesar game. Go back and watch that game where Philip just basically annihilated us. We didn't have enough leaders on the board. We should have at least 4 leaders to the lists that we had built, Paul and I. So I'm just like a dry sponge here. I'm just soaking this all up. Philip, Paul, Joe, my opposition, Pat and I were on one team. Those 3 were on the other team. And I gotta say, they won. They definitely won. They definitely took the road. Now, there's 3, you'll see here on the excerpts, there are 3 red objective markers on the road. Technically, those weren't the specific objectives you had to take. The idea was you had to, by the end of the game, you had to control the road and have annihilated, for the most part, your opponent. That was really the objective of the game, and whittling down to the BER, right, the battle rating. Right, so at the end of the game, Germans had lost far more battle rating than, or the BR, not BER, the battle rating than the Allies had. Now, Philip was playing, let's see, he was playing English, right? He had a great English list. He had the Achilles, which is kind of similar to the M10, but they had those 17-pounder guns. Paul was playing Canadians, and he brought Fireflies with the 17-pounder guns. Now, keep this in mind. The 17-pounder gun has the same punching power as the Panther. Okay, it's just their armor was weaker. So they did a really good job of hiding their units, as you'll see here in the excerpts, and peeking around corners and really protecting their tanks from shots. I forget the name of the little mini tanks, but they're basically Stuarts there that Philip had. And those little suckers, literally, they're so small, and he was hiding them on another side of a hill opposite the table. And I literally just lost track of them, just like in real life. There was all this terrain, the hills, the woods. Even Paul sprung a trap on me when I moved a Panther up. It might have been a Panzer IV. Started moving him up, but out comes this Firefly. I had no idea that it was there. He literally hid it in behind terrain, so I couldn't see it. And that's what we're talking about here, guys. When we show you, or when I show you these excerpts from either full-blown game hall games or my new mini bat reps, I'm really going to focus in on the strategy, the movement of the troops, the list of the troops, what was brought to the battle, why was something brought to the battle. I'm just decided this morning, I'm not showing the dice rolling. I am not going to break down the rules, because every rules lawyer out there is going to say that's wrong, and I'm not messing with that. I'm going to show you the moves. I'm going to show you the strategy. I'm going to show you the list building. Okay, that's the goal here, is the strategy. That's another big aspect to this little gem, guys, is list building and using your movement and strategy and hiding your troops in the terrain. In big battles like this, guys, it's easy to lose track of what's going on. I was controlling 2 650-point armies, so I had my hands full, and I was going up against 2 very formidable players, Paul and Philip, they got me. They just got me. From about the second turn of the game, they had control of the road, as you'll see here, and we didn't ever take back any of the points of the road. And just as the game wore on, this was a longer game. We stopped and chit-chatted some through the game. We took breaks. We're talking all in all a 5-hour game total, this size of game. then, of course, after the game, we sat and just, shot the shit for another couple of hours, which was excellent. I love that. Really look forward to every game now, just for that element alone. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to put up the footage of the Mega Battle, and I will do my usual narration as best I can to describe what is going on in each scene. All right, hey, and thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, we're going to come in here. On a sweep of the German side, you can see the armor that is arrayed against the Allies. There's my Panther squad with my half-tracks full of troops. We've got my Panzer IV backup list with troops and a half-track. And you can see there Pat, who's my teammate. He's set up with lots of Panzer IVs. Alright, you can see here it's a great battlefield. We're starting to do a little snacking. We got chips, we got Fritos, chili cheese Fritos, and we got veggies and dip we're starting out with until we segue into make your own subs. You got to make an event of it, guys. And you see Paul moving up behind that hill right there on your upper left screen. And some carrot sticks. I've not really moved up yet. They had scouts, so they get to move first. They did a recon. And you can see Pat is moving up on the slope of that hill, getting his defilade. I'm starting to move up to the hedgerows with my those were my Stugs. I had 4 Stugs. And I'm starting to move up my Panthers. One of them's in one of the dugout positions, and they have fired. I don't think I got any hits. I think I took out one small tank unit of Phillips. I'm kind of holding my Panzer IVs in the middle in reserve. They haven't moved. I'm starting to move. Those are MG teams. I'm moving up there in their vehicles up to the woods. Station of MG teams in the woods. Now you can see here I just lost a Panther. He's got a 17-pounder up on the top of that hill. And he just popped me. Boom. And you see lots of shooting going on. There's the farmhouse. It's 3D printed. It's on fire. So I printed a regular farmhouse, and I did one that was destroyed. So you see here, Paul has moved up. He has a flame tank, a Churchill flame tank. I tell you, those Churchills, it's hard to take those out. They have really heavy front armor. Now those are the little Stuarts. They're different for the Brits. They're called something different, but it's essentially an M5 Stuart. And those little suckers, he sent 2 up. Now I think he had 5. I took 1 out initially, and then he hid 2 more behind a hill that I couldn't even see. See there, he's taken out one of my teams, one of my infantry teams. He's taken out one of my half-tracks. Now those were taken out by artillery fire, guys. I lost a Stug artillery fire. A lot of vehicles that are being taken out by either artillery fire, right, or just shots from fireflies. But American artillery is devastating. There's Philip. Now another thing, we always have these quick reference sheets, and Paul had laminated some and brought some. I really like these. I'm going to find those and get some of those for myself. They're really handy to have with you on the board. Now this is just a slugfest over here on the German right flank. Joe is really doing a number on him with his infantry, and of course he had some armor also. He had some Shermans. So there you go. I moved one of my King Tigers up. Yes, I had 2 King Tigers. They basically didn't do squat the whole game. They're slow, and everyone, as I moved them around, everyone avoided me. They just ran and hid. But those Stuarts came up,
and did a lot of damage. They took out several tanks, especially towards the end. They took out several of my Panzer IVs that came over to the left flank to reinforce. And you can see the pile of chits. I finally gave up putting them face down. I just threw them in a pile. Finally took out my King Tiger with the 17 pounders. They just got me. What can I say? So Allied victory. You can see it was absolute carnage. I want to thank you guys for coming along for the ride today as Philip cleans up the carnage. And we'll see you on the next video, guys. Ciao.